Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard Clandestine International Airlines, Flight 17. We're currently en route to Shambhala International Airport at an undisclosed location deep beneath the Himalayan or possibly Himalayan mountains. We're never quite sure how to pronounce that, so if anyone would like to let us know in the comments, we love feedback of any sort. Any sort, really. Even emojis are cool. So we're going to be cruising along. We're just about reaching our cruising altitude of 32,000 feet, and got some weather forecast showing should be fairly smooth sailing for the rest of the way. So I am going to turn off the seatbelt light. So feel free to get up, move about the cabin. Please visit our lounge on the upper deck. And I'm also going to light the smoking lamp. Yes, the smoking lamp is lit. Smoke them if you got them. And everything seems to be going well. So I think I'm going to switch on the Otto Matic pilot and introduce our usual co-host as well as our co-pilot and electronics warfare officer, Roger Hansen. Roger, glad you're with us again today.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Oh, well, we can't get off the ground without you. You know, this ship needs at least two people to run it, and ideally, it has a crew of 17. But we had a lot of cutbacks lately at the airline. But we managed somehow with the help of our trusty little AI Bati. We haven't had him on the show yet. He doesn't talk much, but maybe in the future.
Maybe.
You never know. So the weather has been improving everywhere, it seems to me. How's it been where you are, Rod?
Well, it gets good and nice and spring kind of day, but then all of a sudden we get rain in the most unusualest time of day. You know, like today was beautiful, and then like right around 4 o'clock we start getting a rain. I couldn't believe that.
Huh. Well, you know, sometimes the system comes through at an unexpected or an inconvenient time. You know, I remember living in Florida and you would have rain in your yard and the next door neighbor's yard would have sun.
Yeah, that's the way
It
it
was
was.
really weird.
I remember that too. Time.
And when we were kids, we used to chase the rain clouds. We get on our bicycles and try to follow the rain. It was actually kind of fun.
Oh yeah.
But that was more years ago than I want to remember. Yeah, it was rainy here for a while, but it warmed up. Kind of cloudy today and a little windy, but they were talking about having something in the way of rain in the next couple of days here as well. But I guess that's Mother Nature's spring cleaning, here in the Northern Hemisphere. Of course, in the Southern Hemisphere, they're getting ready for winter, even as we're kind of getting ready for, we're in spring now and getting ready for summer. So it doesn't seem fair somehow. Those poor guys are going to be going into the horribly cold weather. I guess it balances them out, though.
I guess they got some really, really bad storms and everything in Texas yesterday or the day before. They were talking about tornado warnings and stuff.
I heard something. I heard something about that. I did hear something about that. There was some really intensive storm activity, and I actually saw some live footage. And on the horizon, there were all these blue long flashes, and they said those are like power lines exploding, or those big cans that are on power lines, transformers. So those were just transformers blowing, like boom, boom, boom. That's pretty intense. That's pretty intense.
Yeah,
Have you heard if anyone was hurt?
I know they said that there were injuries. From what I've seen, mostly it was when they had the storm chasers out taking video footage while they were doing the weather on the weather channel.
Geez.
Yeah.
Right.
They had them on the ground.
I don't know. That's an occupational hazard. Then I mean, if you go out there, I did see this one group that had an armored car that they would do it in, which kind of made sense. But tornadoes are still something I tend to want to stay away from personally. It's kind of like being a firefighter.
I'd rather be a
I used to
firefighter.
know a guy who was a firefighter.
I would
Well,
rather.
yeah, but I mean, still, I knew this guy he was a really good guy, but it's like there's a fire, and his job is to run into it, you
Right.
know. And most people's instinct is like, you want to get away from a burning building, and his job is to go in there and fight the fire. And it's you got to have a big heart to do something like that,
Oh yeah, most definitely.
or some kind of like real motivation. Yeah.
Most of them are
Um,
rednecks, and they're not really afraid to die. It seems like most of the firefighters I know, they're crazy. You know what I mean? In a good way. In a good way.
yeah, yeah. Well, it's one of the few areas left in the world right now, in our society at least, because and we've talked about this before, how much tamer in many ways our society is, how much calmer, how much nicer it is in a lot of ways. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where public executions were a thing. And it wasn't that long before that where public executions included public torturing and, beheadings and eviscerations and all sorts of wonderful little things, all as part of the justice system. Um, and people like rejected that. So suddenly no more cruel and unusual punishment. And then the idea of public hangings or executions was so everything kind of got, tamed down. Life became more civilized for, technology made people live longer, more safely. You were protected from more things. But there's still places in our society where men and now women as well have to face a life and death struggle. And being a firefighter is one of those things. I mean, you have signed up for not just like, signing up in peacetime for the army, where maybe something will start, but I'll be behind all of this. No, these guys are like the Greek hoplites. When you signed up for that, and everybody in the city, all the men in the city were part of this. You knew you were going to be pressed up against some other guy with a shield who's going to try to stab you with a sword. That was part of the deal. It was going to happen sometime. And you have to have a certain mindset for that. And these guys sign up with, yes, you are going to be fighting a fire, one of the most destructive things we have. And yeah, there's a mortality possibility here. It's pretty high compared to other jobs. This isn't going to be something you face if you're, working in an office somewhere or something. Well, I guess depending on the office. But yeah, so you've got to have that spirit of. I mean, these guys must be. What you're describing. I'm thinking of like the Norse berserkers,
Oh
or
yeah.
these other warriors who were just like, hey, we live twice as fast, we die twice as young, we have twice as good a time, kind of deal. We are the fighting, 23rd, whatever. That esprit de corps. And it's been a big part of our human history, and it's good to know that there are still places for people who have that ability to tap that spirit. I don't know if I could do it, but I'm past the age where I need to worry about that. That's for younger men. That's for younger men.
Well, heck, it's the older men, the ones I was talking about. The crazy ones were the older ones. After they've been through. I wasn't talking.
Well,
About,
that was that's not surprising, really. That I was thinking of the old Roman army had like they would set up. They had like three ranks, not like you know ranks like rates. They had like three different positions. You had the first line that went out to fight were the young men, Astarti. They were just like these young guys. They were lightly armed. They had speed, and this was their chance to go out there and shine. They get to go out there, and then you had behind them, you had the more regular troops that had more experience, but behind them, you had the old guys, and they were never sent in unless it was like really, really bad, because they were the guys that, and back then, it's not like you're just pulling a trigger. A guy that was used to it, knew how to handle a sword and a shield, would do better, and was much more, if you survived enough battles back in those days, odds are you were going to keep surviving because you knew how to do it. There were ways to fight and win, and these guys knew how, but they were nuts, and they had trouble with them because sometimes a lot of times they never call on them, and they would go crazy. We want to go in. We want to go. Sometimes they'd like disobey orders and just charge anyway. So they would just they would beg their officers, "Come on, man!" and do the most wackiest things. And they were the oldest guys there. And I was, I first read about this, like, oh yeah, this is the old guys hiding back. No, that was one of their biggest mutiny problems, was the old guys just, hey, we want to fight too, man. Well, let's show those youngsters how you do it.
Yeah, they're usually the ones that do, the disruptive ones, because they've already been through I like to say they've already been to the circus and they've ridden all the rides, So
Right.
nothing's a surprise to them, Most of these firefighters,
Yeah,
same thing.
well, that's the thing, when that having that confidence, I mean, if you don't have the experience and you go and it's going to be really scary, but if it's like, okay, this isn't fun, but I know what to do because I've been here before, I rode this ride, and that's not going to make it any easier to, as a thing, but it's going to make it a lot easier for you to cope with it.
Yeah.
You don't have to waste the energy worrying about it. It's like, I remember when I had a job, I used to repair silo unloaders, and I had to climb silos sometimes. And it went from, when I first started doing it, silos are like 50, 60, 70 foot high, I'm climbing up in the air. And at first it's like, oh boy, this is getting really high. But it finally changed over to, boy, this is a pain in the butt. Oh my God, I've got to climb how many feet? Then I knew. I didn't waste any energy being worried about whether the ladder was going to fall off the side of the silo or not.
Yeah.
It was more just like, okay, another tough job, doing this or that or the other thing. So I did get to meet a lot of farmers, which was pretty cool. Farmers are good people.
I used to know a guy who used to do the towers whenever they needed to have the towers fixed. He'd climb towers for radio stations and satellites.
Oh, yeah. Somebody's got to replace that light bulb up there when it blows out.
Yep.
I think that every time I see I got a radio mast, not an eighth of a mile from here, not a furlong from here, and I can look out from my backyard. I see those red flashing lights. I'm like, I wonder if they need someone to climb up there and change that sometime.
Yeah.
Haven't seen them blow out yet. I'm sure that they buy the longest lasting light bulbs they can, and they do sell really long lasting ones, but it's an old tower, just like from the 60s or something.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting. I want to see the guy that climbs up and changes. Oh, actually, today they probably have a drone.
I don't know, man. That's
light bulb changer.
That's job security right there, man. I don't know if they'll take away that job for a drone. You know what I mean? They want to have somebody they can send up there and scare the crap out of.
I think you just fly up on a drone. They have drone craft that you can sit in. The drones will fly you around. I don't know what the altitude is, but I don't see why you couldn't get up to the top. It's more like a, I don't know, 80 foot tower, 60, 80 foot tower. Wouldn't be too bad.
It'd be interesting.
It's go on.
Oh, I said it would be interesting. That's all I said.
Oh, I thought you cut out for a minute there.
No,
sounds a little weird on this end.
No.
Well, I was thinking about today we were just talking about people being nice, and then I was remembering something you said about mean Buddhists.
Oh yeah.
And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, well, and I actually composed a little talk about it, which I might publish separately. But I was thinking about it, but I thought we could talk about it a little. And I'm like, are Buddhists really mean? And I always come up with the thing, and you've heard it before, and our listeners who've listened to us before have probably heard me say, in my experience, and it seems to me that the kind of religion you have depends on your own personality. So there are people that are really mean people, and they're going to be mean Buddhists and mean Christians and mean Hindus or Muslims or Zoroastrians or mean New Age pagans or whatever they are. And nice, virtuous, generous, kind people are going to be they're going to have a very kind religion. Somebody who's mean will always use their religion as an excuse to do mean things. Whereas someone who's kind will always find support in their religion for being a kind, good person. But there are aspects of Buddhism, though, that I think you could call maybe not mean, but I think what a lot of people would consider harsh. And I'm thinking about a harshness that is also reflective of our societal norms. Because every morning there's 5 things a good Buddhist or even an indifferent Buddhist should try to remember. And these can be very harsh things for most people to hear or think about. And every day, the Buddha has always recommended that you think about certain things. And these things are not untrue. They're meant to get us to think about what our situation actually is. And we have a very odd situation, and I forget the guy's name, but he said human beings are very weird because they're the only animals that know they're going to die but live as if they're not. We know we're going to die, but we never think about it much, and we have a lot of taboos around it. And so when you talk to a Buddhist and you start talking about this stuff, and he says, well, think of these 5 things every morning. The first one is that, you're going to get old. Okay? It's going to happen. It's part of the deal. You're going to get old. Okay? You're going to get sick. People are like, what do you think, I'm old? I don't want to get old. What are you talking about? That's mean to say to someone, right? You're going to get sick. It happens. It's part of the deal. And it's inevitable. You are going to get sick. People don't want to hear about it. Oh, man, that's negative thinking. If you think about getting sick, then you'll get sick. But if you don't think about getting sick, you won't get sick. Well, that's not true. I mean, it can help, but, if I would never have had a sick day in my life if it actually worked. If positive thinking really worked, we'd all be 20 years old and nobody would die. But we're going to get sick, and we are going to die. We're just all going to. It's like, yeah, don't tell me that. I don't want to die. Don't think about that. You're going to die. It's part of the deal. You can't help it. It's normal. It's like it's part of the deal. And you're going to be separated from everything you hold dear. You're going to grow different. Things are going to change. And most change is not for the better. Most people don't like change unless it's like change that they're sure about, like, getting a raise in their paycheck or winning the lottery. Then that's the kind of change. They don't really want things to be too different, but you are going to change. Everything changes all the time. You're going to lose friends. You're going to lose family. You're going to lose things about yourself. You're going to get weaker. That's all part of the aging and illness thing. And this is all part of the deal. It's all normal. It's just going to happen, man. It's just part of the deal. And the thing that a lot of people find the most unpleasant, and yet many people find the most hopeful, is that you are the heir to your actions, right? Everything you do, all of your actions are very important. You are defined by your actions. You relate to the entire universe through your actions. All right. Everything you do is supremely important. Everything you do is like a little pebble cast into a pond. It has amazing power, and everything you do, for good or for ill, is going to come back and bite you in the butt one way or another. You can't get away from this. This means that you are ultimately responsible for yourself if you can open up your eyes enough and take responsibility. But most of us don't. We have the power to, but most of us simply shirk it. And it's not a fault. It's simply the way we're trained. It's the way, we never even think about this most of the time because we have grown up with these mechanisms in a society that has these mechanisms. I had to do this. I had to do that. This person did this. This person did that. And we can't change what we did, of course, but right now we can make any decision we want, and that decision will have great power, and it will have more power than everything in the past, and it will have more power than... No, it can't change some things, obviously, but you can take this moment and change what you're doing. And if you change what you're doing, you're going to change the future. So you have the future in your hands right now. Now, again, a lot of people don't like to hear this. Because that's a lot of work. But a lot of other people say, hey, you know what? I don't like what's been going on, but I can change this. I have this power. And you find that right here and now. But these are 5 things to think about. And they can be a little harsh because when you come up to someone and say, "Hey, man, you're gonna age, get ill, and die, and then everything's gonna change, and you're not gonna like it, man. You're not gonna like who gets elected president. You're not gonna like the prices. You're not gonna like, you know, they're gonna discontinue Mr. Pibb. You won't have your favorite soda anymore." I have a friend of mine who's very upset about Mr. Pibb being discontinued. I told him, "You're going to be separated from all the evil deer." That's a basic Buddhist tenet. No more Mr. Pibb. Sorry, nature of the universe. So I don't know if I don't think that's mean. I think it can be thought of as harsh, but I think if it is harsh, it is said hopefully without harshness, but with metta, with the idea of goodwill, because it's only when we accept where we are and who we are and what's happening that we can do something about it, that we can do something about our situation. And, it's not harsh if somebody yells at you, "Oh my goodness, there's like an avalanche coming down the mountain." Say, "I don't want to hear that. Well, that's harsh. You're bumming my vibe, man." It's like, no, there's a problem happening. So sometimes you have to say something. And we have a way of living very heedlessly. When we're not aware of these things, we can't really make good decisions, skillful, intelligent decisions. And again, that gets back to our present moment and making good, skillful, intelligent decisions. In other words, having good intentions. Because at the end of the day, it has to do with our actions, and that means our mental actions, which is our intentions. And when we don't have conscious, well thought out intentions, we're going to have a very chaotic life. We're going to zigzag back and forth between desires and appetites, and just paddling around aimlessly, making samsara, which is basically what samsara is. Going with whatever the advertising campaign is this year, whatever it is. You find all these other ways to create intentions rather than examining yourself, examining what's going on, and deciding what is going to be the best for my long-term happiness. It's to do this and not that. And you can't make any intelligent decisions about your long-term happiness unless you understand the conditions under which you are living, the limitations that we all have. Ignoring aging, illness, death, and separation, and the law of karma is like ignoring the law of gravity. You're living with it anyway, but it's better to try and live it in accord with it. Or as I always say, whenever something falls off a table, gravity assists. So you want the gravity to assist you skillfully. So I think that was my main rant, Roger. If you had any comments or
it sounded
comments or suggestions, yeah.
It sounded pretty good, but like whenever I say like Buddhists are mean, I say that in a nice way, because like I couldn't have I couldn't have changed if it wasn't for those mean Buddhists. I have a lot of respect for the people I met who helped me, because a lot of people don't want to change, like you said, and I mean for those suggestions to have worked on me, they had to have been profound, and I learned that, and the only way that I've ever been able to take a suggestion was when somebody said it to me that in a way that friggin' wasn't nice for me, but it was something that I needed to hear, So, so I'm okay with it. I think that's one thing that a lot of people have a hard time with too, is hearing things that they don't want to hear. It's a complete denial.
Yeah.
So.
Well, there is the Zen tradition of the stern Zen master.
Mm-hmm.
That kicks the student's butt. And, the student comes up with a smart-ass question about, "Master, what is the Buddha?" And he throws a bowl of rice at him.
Yeah.
Or says something like, "Wash my socks," or, "Why aren't you studying?"
I used to love the Karate Kid, man.
So How many Karate Kids movies did they actually wind up making?
I think they made
It was like
three or
three.
four. Three or four. The new one had what's his name? Will Smith's son on it with Jackie Chan.
Really, I didn't see that one.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Oh, wow, Jackie Chan. I think I saw some advertising for that, but I
It
didn't see it.
it wasn't good.
Jackie Chan's pretty good.
It was okay, but I just didn't like the fact that he didn't catch the fly with those picks. What do they call
Oh, the
those?
chopsticks.
Yeah, the chopsticks.
Chopstick.
He used a fly swatter. I was like, whatever.
Yes.
Trying.
Well, that's from a famous movie scene with Toshiro Mifune. What was the name of it? He was playing like a wandering Ronin, kind of samurai guy, and they sent in this local rough to like intimidate him, and he's sitting down eating, and the guy comes in and he's like, "Yeah, you better watch yourself around here. I'm a pretty tough guy. We got some tough guys." And he's just ignoring him, like looking at his rice, and he notices these flies buzzing around. So he takes his chopstick and starts grabbing the flies out of the air. And the guy's going on, and he stops, and he's watching what he's doing, and his jaw drops, and he just backs out hurriedly, like, "Oh my God, this guy is good," kind of deal. Simply to have those reflexes meant he was an unstoppable warrior, in other words. So he scared the enemy warrior just by using chopsticks.
See, that's what I like. That's what I liked about the original Karate Kids. But then Jackie Chan used a fly swatter to kill the fly. I didn't like that.
He's a comedian, I guess.
Well,
So he's trying to be funny.
that's what it comes down to. And then he has like this attitude where he is pretty much trained in martial arts. Don't get me wrong, but he's got this attitude like,
Oh yeah, he's a martial artist. Yeah.
he's got this attitude like, well, you don't have to study as hard, and you don't, you know what I mean, and just that's all just make believe. So
Yeah.
believe it. So
Yeah. Well, not every. I think we're spoiled by serious martial artists that went into the movies. Like Bruce Lee was a very serious martial artist, but he made movies. Or Chuck Norris. I mean, before Chuck Norris made movies and went on TV, he was like a top. They used to call him Superfoot.
yeah,
He had the most amazing kicks, and I mean, his wall covered with trophies, martial arts trophies and stuff. So, again, these guys were like really good. So, but there is the point. You don't need to be that good just to make a movie. But we kind of want to see that because we're used to having a top-notch guy on the screen.
well, I mean,
Of course, with AI, you could make a new Bruce Lee movie, co-starring Chuck Norris.
oh, they've got one already out for Bruce Lee where he's supposed to be playing ping pong with there's something he's playing it with, but it's not a ping pong paddle. He's doing it with something. It's something small. And at first when I saw it, I thought it was really it was a real video, but I found out later on it was AI. Completely blew me out of the water. I couldn't believe it. It even looked like Bruce Lee.
Wow. Well, this is something we've been talking about, especially over in the quantum gathering group that we're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
That we talk a lot about, this cutting edge technology, and I'm now thinking that we will have, and I mean, I guess we have it now, this ability in an individual's hands to create anything they want as far as an audiovisual entertainment goes. So, I mean, Hollywood is basically obsolete. You can just, I don't know, I guess you can do it now. You can sit down and ask an AI to make you a complete film with any actor in history, with any script in history, or write a new one or use your own. And why would you bother even going to the movies anymore when you can have your own personal movies? I've got a few ideas myself, to tell you the truth. some great films I'd like to make.
I mean, go for it. That's all I gotta say. I've been doing that Stir the Fallout, and I love it. To be honest with you, I think just give people time, and they'll start figuring out that AI is that they're blowing it up to be more than what it really is. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's just
Right.
like how you're into music and stuff. I don't think that AI is a threat to musicians. You know what I mean? I was talking to Bob Dove about that, and like that video you showed on that chat where it was talking about when they first started Suno. They set it up to where it was supposed to be like in a game like atmosphere for people who weren't musically inclined,
Right.
and
Right.
that kind of brought a little bit of clarity to me because now I understand what the main purpose of it was for. What it is now might be different, but that's not how it first started out. So I've just been having fun with it, treating it like it's a game, something that you can actually do that's constructive with it. There's other
Right.
people. There's other people that are trying to cheat the system. Don't get me wrong, but it doesn't have to be used that way.
Huh. No, it's some amazing stuff comes out of there, and but as far as like musicians go, if you like to play an instrument, you're going to keep playing an instrument.
Right.
And I hang with a bunch of guys. Everyone I know, they play. You really. It's very hard to make a living playing an instrument, and just about every musician I know does it in his spare time. Sacrifices a lot of time and effort in order to do it. Yeah, it's people that are really you really want to do this because you're spending money, you're spending time. Instruments aren't cheap, and strings aren't cheap. My goodness.
Okay.
So it's like, yeah, something like AI is not going to make musicians say, "Oh, I'm going to stop playing." I mean, if you like to play, you're going to keep playing, and you're going to find friends that also like to play. You know,
Right.
and well, it's like you could say an AI could probably play a game of D&D better than anyone else, but people I know that play role playing games, they're not going to stop playing games just because
Oh
an AI could do it better. So what?
no, that'll never happen.
I'd still rather, get together with my friends with a human dungeon master, Not
Yeah,
that I've done that in a long, long time,
yeah.
but
I don't see that happening at all because like you get people who are into role playing games and they're a little bit too hardcore about it. They want the real experience. They want somebody who's human doing the game rather than a artificial intelligence.
yeah, yeah. Well, a big part of it was socialization. You're socializing with your friends, you know people, and you get to know them better that way. When you're out on campaign and this and that.
Uh-huh.
It's how you build friendships and stuff. So a lot of these things, it's. I mean, the activity is important, but a lot of the appeal of the activity is that it's like social bonds where you get together with the gang. You're getting together with it's sort of the same thing online too, to a certain extent as well. But and that's the positive aspects, the positive uses of this tool that we have. Just this computer technology that gives us these LLMs, that gives us this ability to communicate and get together. And it's up to us individually. Are we going to be bent over our phone, looking at little better than what would have been a kid watching a TV show? Maybe he's just watching as like a sports ball game or something. Or maybe they're bent over their phone writing a script or debating with their friends about some philosophical point, or maybe they're reading a good book. There's so many positive things that this technology can bring us. And of course, people can use it for negative things. And of course, just because I think something is negative doesn't mean that someone else might either. If someone wants to like look at what I consider to be, mindless entertainment all day, hey, be my guest. I wouldn't keep it from you. And I'm sure a lot of people think me watching, I don't know, I watch stuff about like, early medieval Welsh manuscripts sometimes. It's some things that it's very difficult to get people engaged about.
That's the
I
reason.
found out something fascinating about the kingdom of the Fed in the year 668 AD that you'll just love. I don't, so I can see people saying, why is he wasting it? But it's like, that's what I dig, it's how I unwind. So,
Yep.
so yeah, there's a lot of, it's a tool like anything else, and you can do a lot of good things with it. We shouldn't forget that. In the rush to try to set up guardrails, because it's all powerful things are dangerous. All powerful tools are dangerous. Jackhammer's a very dangerous thing.
Well, history. I mean,
it's a great tool for breaking up concrete, but don't put it on your foot.
History's cool. I mean, if they have a problem with you reading about history or ancient history, then booey with them, man. That's where the action's at. It's like that's one of the reasons why I like hanging out with you.
I've been watching a set of very informative videos about the center around the Congress of Vienna, which was what they basically how they set up the European order after the French Revolutionary and Napoleonic Wars, and the two were really a continuation. And because France, it's the French again. No comment now, Roger. But France basically, after Louis XIV went around, stirring all the pots and destabilizing things, that was bad enough. But the French Revolution broke out, and revolutionary France just basically went wackadoodle and attacked everyone. And up until that time, a field army, your maximum size was usually around 50,000 men. Okay, the French Republic did mass conscription. They would field an army of 2 million suddenly, and they attacked. And it was crazy. And it was like a major war. It lasted 25 years. So for 25 years, you could be born, grow up, and die, and know nothing but war. It was amazing. So yeah, France went bonkers and just tore the whole continent apart for 25 years. Thank you, France. And so they had to get together and say, all right, what are we going to do? We don't want to do this again. They were really, as he points out, all the statesmen, the diplomats that got together with us, they were not particularly any more learned. They weren't any wiser than other diplomats, but they were more scared than any other diplomats. They basically saw what they thought could basically destroy their civilization. So they did not want any more wars. And he points out that as a result of this treaty, there were no great power wars for 99 years in Europe, which was remarkable. Up to that time, you were having great power wars all the time, and you could put it all right back to Rome versus Persia, France versus England. As he points out, when you've got a war that big, it consumes the whole society. This isn't like a little border clash. This is where whole villages are marched off to fight, and like only half of them come back, kind of stuff. And it's repeated all through the country, kind of stuff. So they didn't want that anymore. So this system actually worked for 99 years. And then we had World War I and World War II, which were the last great power wars. And now we've had 75 years. But before that, it was like every 5 years. So we're getting better. The trouble is, another one could be very, very, very bad with nuclear weapons and all, So we want to see what we can learn from how they kept the peace before.
I find it more disturbing.
A lot of it seems to. What's that?
So I find it more disturbing, though, that they expect these supposed wars to last a lot, or to end a lot quicker. Like they think that wars can be started and end in like a month, or even like 5 days. I'm like, that's insane.
Well, the thing is, you've got great power wars, and then you've got regional wars, and they're like on a different scale and operate differently. Sometimes they can be a way to just, you just maintain this low level conflict, and you use up. It's a place that you send your boys to train, and then you're always selling a lot of munitions, so it's good for the economy kind of deal. And you just kind of send them in, and you just kind of keep it going. Um, the Tsar used to do that. Ivan the Terrible. Every year he'd put an army together and go attack those guys. Just go attack them. He didn't commit a lot of forces. It was like, oh, and just keep the war going, because that way you keep the guys occupied, this and that, and you can do that all the way up to like trying to obliterate someone. But Korea was an example of a more serious version of that, or Vietnam. But those could also edge over into like Vietnam, where they're 20 years, because hey, we're making a lot of money selling guns to both sides here, which was that's another story entirely.
Yeah,
That's another story entirely. And or the Ford Motor Company operating during World War II in both Germany and the United States, and they were just separate companies then because of the war, and after the war, wow, they were one company again. That was going to be the end, wasn't it?
Now,
Oh my goodness.
Now that peace through avoidance of war, is that the link that you were talking about that has to do with this right here? What we're talking about?
Yeah. He talks about that was his preliminary video. It's actually a multi-video thing he's doing. I'm up to the revolutions of 1850, and one of his things is the more representative you can make a government, the stabler it is, which makes a lot of sense. So, but yeah, it's an interesting. He talks about that whole great power war thing and how you don't want to have those, and especially today. But even without nuclear weapons, it would suck. It would really, really suck. And I don't, I have relatives that lived through World War II. I've heard stories. I don't want to go through that. I don't think anyone really wants to. And yeah, but he does make a good point in that video that the way you look at things are models. We have to remember that we're using different models of looking at the world in order to understand it better, predict it better, and we can't be tied down to the model and mistake it for the reality that we're navigating.
Yeah.
That's why it's good to look at things. There's always a lot of levels to things. And a lot of times, 3 or 4 different ways of looking at something are all true in their own way, but they might not seem to be related to the other things. And I think Alan Watts used to say, you can look at a rabbit as a pet store owner and think about how you're going to feed it and what a cute bunny it is, or you can look at a rabbit as a cook, thinking about how much soup you could make, or you could look at a rabbit as a courier, thinking I can make a hat out of that. They're each going to look at it separately. Each are different ways of looking at the rabbit that are valid, but each are also kind of mutually exclusive in a way. The pet store owner would not want a hat made out of his bunny, and the person making soup is not going to want to have the animal in the pet store. Kids will cry. Of course, you could serve them the soup with a little name tag on it. Here's Fluffy. That would be terrible, though.
Yeah, that would be.
Oh, I'm getting terrible. I'm going to become a mean I'll be a mean Buddhist if I'm not careful. All right, I think I'm getting a sign from the tower here. We may be making our descent down to our undisclosed location at Chambal International Airport, deep beneath the Himalayan or possibly Himalayan mountains. But before we went today, Roger, I was going to ask you any closing remarks and/or your socials.
No, I actually wanted to say that I enjoyed being on the show today. I liked just the conversation that we was having, and if you want to find me, you can find me at the Wonderful World of Weirdness on Discord. You can also find me at Roger's Hangout on Teams, as well as Element Matrix. You can find both me and Otto on minds.com at Strange Stories or at my main account, Roger_Hansen, as well as Otto's socials when he gives his socials after me.
Oh. Well, yep. You can find me at most of the places that Roger mentioned as far as Roger's Hangout element. Of course, I am on minds.com under Otto_X. That's EX, by the way. And don't forget my website, navakavada.org. That's NAVAKAVADA. It's spelled just like it sounds. Otherwise, yeah, you might run across me down at the corner store, and messenger pigeons have been known to reach me sometimes. Um, Sometimes with some very odd messages, but that's another story for another show. Um, but yeah, it's been real. It's been fun. And Roger, thank you so much for your input and for your co-piloting skills and your electronics warfare skills. Ladies and gentlemen, you don't know how often we've had to avoid drone attacks, death rays, electromagnetic beams, but Roger fends them all off with his wonderful countermeasures, which we cannot, of course, disclose because the details are classified. And Roger keeps his lips sealed about that, don't you, Roger?
Yes, I do. You don't say nothing about Agartha
Yeah.
that Agartha doesn't want you to say.
That's right. That's right. So, all right, I am going to turn off the smoking lamp, unfortunately. So, please extinguish all smoking materials. And of course, stewards will be by to collect hash pipes and rolling papers and other paraphernalia. The seatbelt light is now lit. Please return your seats to an upright position and fasten your seatbelts. We are going to start our final approach soon. To Shambhala International Airport. People who are continuing onward to Agartha, just stay in your seats. Otherwise, you'll be able to debark there. And I want to thank everyone for flying Clandestine International Airline. We hope to see you again next week. All right, and I'm switching off the automatic pilot as we begin descent. Thank you again, everyone, for flying Clandestine International Airlines.